I believe this must be one of the most satisfying videos that I have filmed so far, because today we're here to talk about on-screen kisses. We're here today to ask ourselves, is a kiss just a kiss, as the song As Time Goes By says at one point, or is there something else? Thus, in today's video, I want to make a point saying that kisses do mean a lot and have meant a lot in movies, particularly I think in classic films. It was always a glorious moment in any film, a very anticipated one in any case, and it was the epitome demonstration of love, romance, passion. In any case, old Hollywood classic movies build a lot around kissing. Obviously, censorship had a lot to do with it. Also, the star system had a lot of impact in making those kisses between two very famous stars become some sort of equivalent to fireworks, literal fireworks on screen. You only have to watch the last part of the beautiful movie Cinema Paradiso to realize the impact of kisses in movies, especially again in classic movies. Film history again has seen some of the best since the first screen kiss captured by a Thomas Edison's film camera in a 20-second short video known as The Kiss from 1896. Since then, we've seen glorious examples with stars like Greta Garbo, John Gilbert, Rudolph Valentino, Clark Gable, Jean Harlow, Janet Gaynor, Louis Brooks, John Barrymore, Dolores del Rio, and so many more glorious silent and pre-code kisses. From 1933 onwards, as many of you would know, the Hays Code was put in place, self-censorship imposed by Hollywood, causing filmmakers to have to find new ways to make kissing even more enticing with a time limit of only 3 seconds. Restrictions in this case again caused artists to become more creative in finding ways again to circumvent the censorship. That is something that we'll definitely see today in a video in which, as the title says, I will be sharing 10 of my favorite classic film kisses. I will be sharing them in chronological order. As per usual, I won't be ranking those kisses. I think each one is beautiful for different reasons. Some of them have been also deemed as some of the best on-screen kisses. Others I don't see that frequently mentioned, but in any case, this is a video to cover some of those magnificent kisses. There are many more examples that I hope you'll bring out in the comments when you finish watching this video. Since I'm doing this video again chronologically, the first kiss I want to bring up is the one shared by Greta Garbo and John Gilbert in the movie Flesh and the Devil. I discovered this movie and this particular kiss actually last year while I was prepping for the video dedicated to classic couples with best on-screen chemistry. One of the couples suggested was Greta Garbo and John Gilbert, and it proved to be one of the hottest that I had ever seen. This movie, Flesh and the Devil, was the first on-screen pairing of John Gilbert and Greta Garbo. That is something that I covered in that video. I will leave a link both down below and with a card up here. But we're here to talk about kisses, and this movie really has some epic demonstrations of what this action truly means. In a moment in film history when, again, no censorship was yet in place, this movie really reeks with erotism, brilliantly photographed by cinematographer William Daniels. There are different moments again in this movie when there are kisses that have made an impact not only for me but also in film history. There's one considered to be the first open mouth kiss ever to appear in movies, something that we won't be seeing for many years. And really, this is, I think, one of the sexiest kisses and sequences that I've ever seen on movies. That is why to me this is one of my favorite kisses. Now, the next kiss that I will mention is one of those that I was mentioning at the beginning of this video that are not listed very often, I think, and is the one between Leslie Howard and Bette Davis in the movie The Petrified Forest, released in 1936. This film is really known nowadays for being the movie that made Humphrey Bogart a star. He had also participated in the Broadway production of the play upon which it's based. At that time, British actor Leslie Howard was the star. As they were preparing the film adaptation, they wanted a more bankable actor at the time, such as, I think it was Edward G. Robinson, Warner Brothers wanted for the role of Duke Mentee. But as many of you would know as well, Leslie Howard insisted on Humphrey Bogart being the one cast, and as history would have it, they would eventually agree to that, and indeed the Petrified Forest made Humphrey Bogart a star, and he was forever grateful to Leslie Howard, so much so that he named his daughter Leslie. And that's pretty much what this movie is now, I think, known for. But to me, it also features a very wonderful love story, again, between Leslie Howard and Bette Davis. She plays an idealistic young woman in the Petrified Forest, and there she meets Alan Squire, a British failed writer who's now a drifter, really. They both get to talk and they fall in love. All this in the midst of the Great Depression and in the midst of being hostages of notorious gangster Duke Mentee, played by Bogart again. The kiss is a brief one. It's more a brief intimate moment, but the way it takes place and also the way it is shot, upon watching the movie, it just struck me as one really beautiful kiss. It takes place when they're both lying on the floor, almost in the dark, only with the neon sign of the diner turning on and off, and it's in one of those intervals when they end up kissing. And again, the way it is shot, the way they both play it, a fleeting moment of tenderness in the midst of all this turmoil, of all this violence. It feels really beautiful to me. That it's why it became, and it's remained, one of my favorite kisses that I've ever seen in a movie. The third classic movie kiss will come as no surprise for many of you. It was quite inevitable for me to include in this video the adventures of Robin Hood, being such an incredible fan of Errol Flynn and Olivia de Havilland. And I would be very, very obvious in my choice here. I think one of the most beautiful kisses that I've ever seen is the one that Olivia as Maid Marian and Errol Flynn as Robin Hood share in the balcony of her chambers after Robin goes there to thank her for having helped him escape from Prince John. The whole scene is in fact superbly charming. Again, I think this is quite in the polar opposite to what I was talking about, the one in the Petrified Forest. This one is such an example of a Hollywood kind of kiss, but again, they are both equally beautiful in a different kind of way, if that makes sense. Knowing that they also had feelings for one another in real life makes it all the more romantic. There's no surpassing their version of Robin Hood and Maid Marian, at least for me. I know that I'm not objective at all, but their balcony kiss, it is truly one of the most magnificent ones that I've ever seen. And that's it. That's the tea. I don't think that I need to say any more about this. Number 4 is also, brace yourselves, another super steamy, I think, super sexy kiss in my opinion, and is the one with the magnificent couple formed by Jean Arthur, another one again of my favorite actresses, and Joel McCrea in the movie The More the Merrier, released in 1943. This one was shot by George Stevens, a director that I think was quite an expert at framing actors in this intimate kind of moments. He did something similar in 1951's A Place in the Sun, featuring Elizabeth Taylor and Montgomery Clift. But this one for me stands out because again, they're kissing and caressing, but it feels that what goes on is so much more. It's one of the ways, again, that within that period in which the Hays Code was in place, they were able to suggest so much more than things that maybe we see more explicitly nowadays. The way Joel McCrea interacts with Jean Arthur, with her just barely trying to maintain the focus on what she's talking about. I mean, that alone is an epic task, in my opinion. I mean, there's not much for me to describe this scene other than wow. That's what I always hear in my mind when I watch this scene from The More the Merrier. Just plain wow. So we jump now from one epic kissing scene to another, this time to see what Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman did in Notorious, released in 1946. I think that in this case no one will argue with me that this movie contains some of the most amazing kisses ever filmed, thanks to the master Alfred Hitchcock, who again found new creative fantastic ways to circumvent censorship, filming two of the most beautiful people ever to appear on screen, Ingrid Bergman, Cary Grant. That was a gift for audiences, that was a gift for humankind. Although again, the kissing scene that I'm sure all of you are thinking of and that this movie is most famous for is the one again in the hotel balcony over the beach of Rio, also known at the time as the longest kiss in film history, precisely because it would feature many kisses always remaining within the 3-second time limit. That was spectacular, epic. But in my case, my favorite kiss from Notorious is not this one. This is close second. My favorite kiss from Notorious is the one that I call the wine cellar kiss. It's the one that takes place in the party right after she has married Claude Rains' Alex Sebastian, and she invites Cary Grant's character. They go to the wine cellar because that's where they think the uranium is, and right as they're about to exit, Claude Rains goes down the stairs, and instead of running away, Cary Grant grabs Alicia and kisses her. Because there's an element of danger, because they have been apart from one another, there's also that element of longing for one another. It's another case of a kiss that it's a fleeting instant between two people that may or may not survive, and the way they look at each other, to me it feels the most romantic kiss of the movie, and therefore a favorite that I wanted to include in this video. Alright, another kiss with bonus passionate points. It's for me the one from It's a Wonderful Life. I already spoke about this kiss in the video dedicated to It's a Wonderful Life. Again, I will leave a link down below and up here, so I won't go over what I said in that video. What I will say in this case is that for me, this kiss is one of the most unexpected, I think, of the list. It's one of those moments in movies where you don't expect that level of connection, of passion, of intensity in a movie. The scene again starts with a very nonchalant visit of George Bailey to Mary Hatch, and we know that Mary's been in love with him ever since they were kids, but the whole moment just doesn't go the way she wanted, and it all seems to be a total fail of a romantic moment until two fantastic characters enter the scene, and those are Mary's mother snooping around and also Sam Wainwright, who enters the scene via phone call. As they are listening and talking through the same phone, their proximity, it just prompts again one of the best, most romantic kisses and intense kisses that I've ever seen in films. It got everyone involved by surprise. Again, that's something that I mentioned in the video dedicated to It's a Wonderful Life, and it definitely caught me by surprise when I first watched that movie many years ago. But it remained nevertheless one of my favorite kisses because of that. Fantastic, terrific. It had to be on today's video. The next kiss that I wanted to mention is perhaps one of the most satisfying kisses that I've ever seen on film, and is the one between Teresa Wright and Dana Andrews in The Best Years of Our Lives, also a movie released in 1946. Practically everyone knows that this William Wyler movie features the story of three veterans that returned to their hometown right after World War II in very different positions, mentally, personally, financially, and physically. All the three couples I think are magnificent, but out of all the couples, my favorite is the one formed by Fred and Peggy, by Dana Andrews and Teresa Wright. In my opinion, Dana's character is the one who's been cited for bravery during war. He's been decorated multiple times, but upon his return home, he has nothing to fall back on. I mean, he's married, but he's barely met his wife. He has no job. Basically, again, he has nothing or not much to fall back on. No one in the town really cares for him except for Peggy. After they meet, they fall in love, but obviously he's married. They're forced to break up their relationship, and they are reunited by the end of the movie because of Homer and Wilma's wedding. The way, again, William Wyler and cinematographer Greg Tolan filmed that last sequence, that last scene of the movie with all the three couples in the same frame, and while Wilma and Homer are getting married, we see Fred and Peggy looking at each other. It's one of those cases in which the kiss has that magnificent build-up, and the way they look at one another, longing for one another. It's like they're getting married at the same time. So that's why I was saying that this one is probably the most satisfying for me of all the list, because finally when they get to embrace and Fred is telling her that everything will be so rough, and Teresa Wright is just smiling and is beaming because she's finally again with Fred. Oh my gosh, this is again one of my favorite films of all time, so I had to include this kiss. All right, we're on to kiss number 8. Fantastic. And I had to include also a kiss from a film noir, and I'm going for the kiss shared by Robert Mitchum and Jane Greer in Out of the Past, released in 1947, which is an absolute gem. It is yet another case of fabulous chemistry between two characters. Jane Greer and Robert Mitchum in this movie are terrific, and in the flashback in which Robert Mitchum is explaining his past to his current sweetheart, he mentions his relationship to Jane Greer, and they share one particular kiss on the beach after one of his trademark quotes, the famous "Baby, I don't care," which has been used later as the title of one of Robert Mitchum's biographies, and is yet again one of those cases in which the whole sequence is fantastic, not just the kiss. I mean, again, the whole scene is super suggestive, so sensually charged. One of those cases in classic films in which you seem to be seeing more than what is been shown. I think it's a fantastic moment. Also another one of my favorite classic film kisses. For the 9th kiss, we're talking goodbye kisses, and if there's one that comes to mind is the one shared by Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck in Roman Holiday, released in 1953. I think had to include Gregory Peck. I cannot personally attest to that, I wish, but in my opinion he was one of the best kissers that I've seen in movies. In this particular scene, there's also again I think that element of longing for one another. In addition to that, there's also the factor that it's literally the last kiss between them. They have to say goodbye for what seems forever because of their different positions in life. She is a princess, he's a journalist. So it's one of those romantic kind of stories in which they can't be together, which in many instances adds to the level of romanticism of that kiss. This is, I think, one of the best examples of that, something we've seen in Hollywood films many times. And again, seeing Audrey Hepburn in her first American movie with Gregory Peck, they have also amazing chemistry. It's remained, I think, and for good reason, as one of the best kisses in films. And we end up chronologically with a movie that it's again another one of my favorites. I'm talking about Some Like It Hot, released in 1959, and with a kiss, as you might have guessed, between Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe. Some Like It Hot is probably one of the movies that I've seen the most out of this list, along probably with Notorious. I love every moment, and there are so many epic, fantastic sequences in Some Like It Hot that are part of film history. But again, much like in the case of Notorious, I'm not going to talk about the kiss that I think all of you are thinking of, the one that Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe, or the various kisses that they share in the yacht in that scene. That scene is terrific, but my favorite kiss of the movie is the one after Marilyn Monroe sings the song I'm Through with Love, and Tony Curtis is still dressed as Josephine and just comes to her and kisses her and just consoles her. This one for me, it's the most romantic kiss. In that yacht scene, I feel that they're playing with one another. It's so fantastic, but conversely, in this one, I think it's when we realize that really Tony Curtis loves Sugar, and the element of surprise or reaction, to me it feels as the most romantic kiss, and therefore that's why it's my favorite kiss and some like it hot. Alright, so that was all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed this list of kisses. I know I have. This is a fantastic topic of conversation. There are so many more fantastic kisses that I've obviously not mentioned in this video, but now what I would love to know is what's your favorite classic film kiss out of all that I've mentioned, and also any other that I haven't mentioned and that you absolutely love. Is it a kiss from Casablanca, The Quiet Man, Breakfast at Tiffany's? I mean, there are so many fantastic kisses that we could be dissecting and discussing. It's really so much fun. So again, that's all I wanted to say before I say goodbye, and as always, stay safe, take care, and see you all very soon in my next video. Bye! Ba-diddly-diddly-diddly-dum, boop-boop-be-doo.